Okay, phew. I have been so out of whack calendar wise and clock-wise, and I am so delighted that I'm actually here. So I'm going to spend about an hour and a half talking about ukulele, and everything's going to calm down and life's going to get so much better. My name's Gary. I run JollyRogerUkulele.com, and I have having a bad time controlling my time. Good evening. We're going to be doing a double class tonight because I had to cancel last night because of things, and so we're combining book 1 and book 2. We're going to go through that in about 45 minutes, and then we're going to do the members group at about 7:45, which is whatever time you are at. So look at the clock and add 45 minutes to it, and that's about the time we're going to start the members stuff. So if you're looking at the playlist tonight, we're going to start with, let's roll back up. I'm going to start with going over Make a Better Bar worksheet, which we did last week, and then I'm going to run through some major scales and how to think about scales. Scales are a way overblown thing in music school, and we'll talk about what there's some usefulness to them. And then book 2, Minstrel Boy, Malone, which we started last week, and then we'll take a look at Parting Glass, one of my favorite songs ever. And then after that, about 45 minutes, we're going to run through Let It Be, Michelle, and Rainbow Connection. We did the same songs last week. We all kind of sort of decided, another week on these wouldn't be bad. These are pretty good songs, and we're not quite 100% playing them well. So maybe I'll play them better this week. Who knows? K-Moss is in from Florida. She stole a frog recently, and so good to have her. That's the kind of people I like hanging around with. And that's why we're playing Rainbow Connection, because Kermit the Frog. She didn't steal Kermit, but somebody even better. And I'm not going to pretend to pronounce his name. She's got a very fancy Haitian name on him. All right, and so that's the plan for tonight. So let us begin with Make a Better Bar. Now, this is the thing. You shouldn't need your sheet, right? This is a technique. This is an exercise, and I just want you to be able to do it, okay? So I'm going to grab a ukulele. Doesn't matter, even if it's in tune, honestly. And what we want to do is make great bars, because here's what's going to happen, okay? Especially if you're a book 1 person, once you get into book 2, bar chords are a thing like that. They're a normal part of playing ukulele at a high level, and you have to be able to sort of do them, right? And this is how we normally do bars, right? They sound terrible, right? And we lose our slip. We go, oh, I'm terrible, I'm going to have to quit ukulele. No, you don't quit ukulele. You just learn to get better at bars. And that's what the Make a Better frog. Oh, the frog went on his way. Iowopo. He was probably lonely. I don't think. Yeah, right. So the frog is gone, and Kamos, to her credit, allowed him to be who he wanted to be, and yeah. I think he's better for the experience. He'll learn not to hang around airports with who, when crazy ladies come through, they might pick him up and take him off to Florida. So yeah, no. I don't know if you're crazy yet, K-Moss, or not, but I'm suspecting that there might be a little bit of lunacy in you. Critter is here. Good to have you back. And all right, let's go through some of this stuff. It's super kind of boring stuff at level 1 tonight, and not that it's good stuff. It's stuff you're going to need, but it's not super fun to play, right? So let's take a look, get your better bar working, okay? If you are on a baritone, I want you to start on fret 5, and if you are on a ukulele, we're going to start at fret 0, okay? We're going to take these 4 fingers, thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb down, index up, middle up, and ring up, okay? That's the whole plan for the first half of this exercise. So it's thumb, index, middle, ring. Now, if you're on baritone, you start on the 5th fret, okay? When you get to 12, I'll forget to tell you what to do there. On baritone, when you hit 12, you're then going to jump back to 1, okay? But if you're on ukulele, we're just going to go straight down to 12 and then straight back, okay? So from the beginning, start with your 0, thumb, index, middle, ring, and we'll be very slow and steady. Try to get every single string clean. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thumb, index, middle, ring, move up 1. Thumb, index, middle, ring, move up 1. Thumb, index, middle, ring, 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 thumb, and stop. Now we're going to do the opposite with our right hand. Ring, middle, index, thumb. And baritones, you probably ended on number 5. You're going to go backwards. When you hit 1, jump down to 11. Okay? Again, try to get every note clean. Usually I mess up on fret 1 when we do this, right? So let's see how I do tonight as well. Ring, middle, index, thumb. 1, 2, ready, go. Ring, middle, index, thumb. 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 Okay, it always happens. It's always fret 1 where I have my clunk, right? And it's because fret 1 is the hardest one to do, and that's why when we teach you B flat and it's on fret 1, and you're like, oh, I have to quit ukulele because I can't do it. You can't do it because it's on fret 1. You can do it just fine at bar 5. Okay, but it's not a B flat there. So if you would take, what did that take us? Maybe 2 minutes? You could do it in 1. You do it in about 30 seconds. If you would sit down every time you play ukulele, sit down, tune your ukulele, and then do that, you would get really good at bars in no time. In no time. And then when they come up down the road and you're having to do this bar with this shape and that pinky down there, when you're having to do, you're going to be doing that shape plenty. It's not scary anymore. You know how to get your bar on, and then you just got to get your other fingers arranged correctly. So give yourself a little bit of a head start or a little bit of freedom to do that kind of thing. Just right before you play, right? Make that your one sort of warm-up activity. It solves your bar problems. It really will solve your bar problems, and you're going to have bar problems down the road. So let's just do it here at lesson 15 in book 1. Get it over with, right? Now let's talk about major scales, okay? And they're quite different for baritone, what baritone can do, and what high G ukulele can do. And so I want to talk about them on ukulele first. Okay, so ukulele scales, a couple of things that I tell people that is important. If you're new to music, you really do have to learn, you have to memorize the keyboard. On a piano, you have to do it. We're going to talk so often about sharps and flats, A's and G's, and those turn into minor chords, and then augmented chords, and then those turn into jazz chords, and all these things. And you have to have at least this part of it memorized. So the things I've asked you to memorize are how to play Frere Jacques, how to the chords to Happy Birthday, My Spaghetti Monster, and piano keyboard now. So this is your fourth thing you really kind of have to memorize, because you got to know that there's, when you hit B, that there's no B sharp, it's a C, right? And that's not even true in that sense, because there are B sharps in certain keys, right? And it just hurts your brain. It's musicians at work. The musicians would like to push you into the audience. They want you to be a reasonably knowledgeable audience member, but they don't want you to do what they do, because there's not enough. They think there's a limited quantity of music available, and they're doing it, so they don't want you to do it. And that's why they came up with this ridiculous pattern on this keyboard that makes no sense. There's no B, there's no sharp key between B and C. There's no sharp key between E and F. But in real life, there is such a thing as an E sharp, and you will run into it in Chopin on a regular basis. But we don't think about that as we're learning. We just have to learn this, and then later on when we learn about double sharps and this sort of thing, then we'll be like, oh, that's so stupid. But it is what it is, and they're not changing it because we don't like it. They made it that way on purpose, so we don't like it, and maybe we'll just go sit in the audience and listen to them. But you need to know where the C note starts on a piano. You need to know the next note, C sharp, and then D, D sharp, and then E, and then there's a blank, and then you need to know the next notes. And so this little chart here will help you at least get a sense of where the white notes are on your ukulele, and you just need to know between those white notes there's either there's a black note, and it's either sharp or flat depending on how you think about it. Okay, so let's take a look at the scale underneath that, and we're just talking ukulele for a second. Notice I have low G ukes only. Okay, so if you have this sound, you have a high G ukulele. But if you have a low sound there, bong, bong, it'll be an octave below that G. Then you have a low G ukuleles, and I don't like low G ukuleles, but I have a lot of friends who love them, and so I've come to accept them as being a necessary evil. But ukuleles usually have a high G here. I think this sounds the best. It's certainly the most fun, and so you sort of ignore this string a lot when we're talking about notes. Okay, so the first notes that matter on a ukulele is the C note, which is your third string, right? 1, 2, 3, and on that one, your low note, as you know, G, C, E, A, is C. And then when you press down a 2 on that string, it becomes a D. Okay, and what you notice is you skipped a fret here. Okay, that's going to either be C sharp or D flat, depending on how you think about it. Okay, then your next note is on the next string, so here's an E. Okay, now but notice we skipped this one here, and that's a D sharp. Okay, so I could have hit that. And then the next one up was E, but we don't usually play it there unless we're trying to be fancy. We usually play the open string right below it. Okay, same note, two different places on the ukulele. This is where pianists and singers start to lose their mind. There are multiple ways to play the same exact note on a fretted instrument, and on piano there's one way to play a D sharp. Okay, then so we've got the E. Okay, notice on your tab the next note's a 1, and that's because there's no E sharp. It just goes directly to F. Okay, the next fret's going to be F sharp, but we're not talking about that right now because it makes our head hurt. And we go with our ring finger to the third fret. It's a G. Okay, if I put my pinky there, I'd get a G sharp or an A flat, and then the bottom string is an A open. Okay, we skip this first fret here because that's a B flat. Okay, and we play this one, that's a B, and then we play a C on the third fret. Okay, so there are a couple extra notes on your thing just because I had extra notes on the piano piece, that piano thing that I was using there. What do they call it? Graphic. The piano graphic had 2 extra notes, so I put them on there for you. But the ones that matter are C to C. So let's do it really quickly. 1, 2, ready, go. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then you go backwards. C, B, A, G, F, E, G, C. Okay. Then once you get comfy with that, you don't double the top. Okay, so let me give you an example. don't hit the top note twice, even though we just did, right? Just talk yourself into going up and then turn around and coming right back. The other thing I want you to practice doing is using 2 fingers instead of just your thumb. Use these 2 fingers, index and middle, okay? C and then your middle, C with your index, then D with your middle, E open, index finger here, middle finger over there, G is here, index finger, okay, open on the bottom string, A, middle finger here, index finger here, and C is with your middle finger on this hand. Okay, and notice I'm doing rest strokes. It's actually resting on the string above it. And then just turn right around and go right back. Index finger on your right hand. Middle finger. Index. Middle. Index. Middle. Index. Okay, so that's another thing I want you to practice on. We don't do a lot of this in book 1, but down the road you're going to do more and more and more of index middle, index middle, index middle, index middle, and we do it as a rest stroke because it's a tiny bit louder and a tiny bit more like in your face, and so those rest upstroke rest strokes are something that you want to be able to do. Okay. That's everything on this page that you need to know. So what I did for you at the bottom of the page is give you where all of the notes, the whole notes are, the white notes. So you got on the top string A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, right? That's just a coincidence. Don't think of it as alphabetical because it's just happens to start on A, right? A to A, and that's your 12, okay? And then on this string, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, right? And so those are there. I didn't put the sharps or flats on because it makes a mess out of the graphics. But I think if you could find an E anywhere on the fretboard, you know that whatever is below it is an E flat. Okay, and that's why you have to memorize the organization of the piano keyboard. Okay, nice part about piano keyboard is you have to learn those 12 notes contain the 8 white notes, and it just repeats. Just same thing, same thing, same thing, and going down it's same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. And so you only have to learn this little pattern once, and then you can do the whole keyboard. Fretboards on ukulele get a little more complicated because you can't see the black and the white notes where you can on a piano, and so you have to memorize where they are basically. It's not critical. Those of you who are older and you're like, I'm perfectly fine not knowing the name of the notes, I'll just use the tablature. You are thinking correctly. That's how we do it in ukulele. The only reason you would need to know the notes here is you went to music school. They drove it into you that it was essential learning, and you just can't think of music any other way. There are things that are helpful about it, but not necessarily if you are just playing music, right? And so you can play tablature and use this standard notation as advice kind of thing. All right, so that's for the ukulele. The baritone one, and if you don't have a baritone, you can kind of ignore this for the moment. What is it? What did I call it? Major scales. I gotta name these things the same thing. There it is. So baritone, same story, right? You have to know the notes on a piano keyboard. That's just one of those things musicians have to know. By the way, I made a decaf latte real fast right before class. And verdict is I didn't make it right, so it's a little sour. All right. Then baritone, you actually have more scales that you can do. So another reason to buy a baritone, I guess, if you start in the same spot, you're going to get G as your low note. G, A, that's way out of tune. My humidifier went crazy again, and everything got super over humidified for about 12 hours. And then now everything's drying back out, and so if you did the same exact tablature, you'd get G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it's G to G, same exact fingering. But on baritone, you also have some other choices. You could start with this low D, D, E, and then you have to use your pinky, F sharp, because it's a D scale, G, A, B, C, D, okay? And, I should have called out the C sharp, right? C sharp, that's right there. And then on a baritone, the C scale is really weird. The lowest C is on right here, the first fret of the second string. So to do a C scale, you got to go clear up here. Now there's an important moment here. C, D, E, F, G. And you have to change positions. So you'll see on the sheet music it says CV above that. And that means put your bar on the 5th fret. Okay, in this case you only need one finger. 5, 7, 8. Okay, so you change positions after the G on the 3rd fret. You have to change your position up to, which we talked about since Yankee Doodle. 1, and then that's your high C, right? And interestingly, those notes there are the same as the ones on the ukulele. So you could play those 2 scales with somebody with the ukulele, and they'd feel quite comfy. Okay, so for this week, get where you can play that scale real fast. Okay, because next week we dive back in. I think we dive back into music. I don't know what we do next week. Do we do the circle of fifths next week? Let me peek. Book 1. Where's book 1? Next week, after we do the scales, I think we might do circle of fifths. Getting to know. Oh, we do make getting to know the fretboard. Oh, we actually go through and we're going to try to memorize some of the important places that those notes are. So for those of you on ukulele, that little thing at the bottom, we probably want to dive into that. So where the actual notes are, again, it's not critical information. We'll go through it pretty quickly, but it is something I need you to know. I want you to know about it. And I was trying to think, where do we do the circle of fifths? Do we not do that on book 1? We don't. Oh, maybe I'm going to add that on to your homework or to the new material next week. Yeah, because the fretboard is kind of boring. So I'm going to add in circle of fifths next week. We should talk about that. That's one of those things that's super helpful for you if you decide to write music. So I will. Where did I used to put that? I'm going to get it. I'm going to toss it into lesson 17 for next week, but I will probably put it up with lesson 14, which is the chord chart, which is where it really goes. Okay. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So just know we got a couple of changes on the list on the Jolly Roger site. I had moved a lot of stuff around prior to starting this season, and I think I accidentally dropped circle of fifths. You should know about that from the beginning. Let's see. Christy says on the ukulele G string, I think the F is in the wrong place on the diagram. Yes. Please do the circle of fifths on the. Really? It's on ukulele diagram. Let me go peek. Let me peek. This would be the first mistake I've ever made. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So on the ukulele G string, I think the F is in the wrong place. It's not. It sounds wrong because when you are playing, if you're playing up the great thing, critter. If you play up the G string, G, B, C, D, E, that sounds wrong. And why is that? Okay, the reason it seems like it's wrong, your ear's like, that is the wrong note. It is the F is in the correct spot. It is on a 10. The problem is when you're going up here, you start to think you're playing in the scale of G, and so your ear wants to hear an F sharp right before the last G. That's what it wants to hear, because as you're going up there, it's the G scale requires an F sharp there, but you're not the chart isn't wrong. Your ears are righter than the chart, right? So in that case, that when you're playing up that thing, when you're playing up that, and you hear this note, that sounds like the wrong note, and it is if you're playing in the G scale, but you're just looking for the white notes. So I wouldn't think about that as you're going to play the scale. Same thing would happen. Yeah, that's what you're right. And I hear it's really easy to make that mistake because in the G scale all Fs are sharp, right? So you would not play this. But when we're just trying to find the white piano notes on here, the F is actually, that is the F, right? It's just in the key of C. All right, great question, Critter. That's really, woof. Glad I was able to clear that up pretty quickly. All right, so this week, play again one more week, just going through your Make a Better bar, and then see how fast you can play your C scale. And for baritone, let's talk you into playing both the D scale and the G scale, just so you get through them. And I think overall, just playing scales kind of loosens your hand up. You're not really going to use those things for as much as musicians use them for, and it's not really musicians that use them. It tends to be well, jazz musicians use them because that is what jazz is playing weirdo scales. And then over at school they use them for music theory. But in piano playing, they make you play all these scales to loosen your fingers up and get you learning certain patterns. But when you play real music on the piano, there's a big difference between the fingering for the song you're playing and scale fingering. It's been one of those ongoing dilemmas with me since my early days in music. I'm like, why in the world do we play these scales and then pay no attention to them when we're playing real music? Well, it's because real music is more complex than the scales, but we still want to know the basics kind of thing. All right, so next week we'll talk a little bit more about the arrangement on the fretboard. I think Christy bumped us into the advanced conversation kind of quickly there. And then we will cover the circle of fifths, which I do think is probably the most important thing I learned as a kid accidentally. And so I want you to have at least a basic understanding of how the circle of fifths works. So we'll get into that next week. So hang in there, guys. We're very close to finishing up the music theory technical section out of book 1, and then we're going to dive back into, look at what we got coming up: Amazing Grace, Happy Birthday, the real version, La Cucaracha is super fun to play, All Through the Night, Home on the Range, another arpeggio, Simple Gifts, Carnival of Venice, Daisy Bell, another arpeggio, and then Aloha Oe, Scarborough Fair. So you're not that many weeks away from playing really, really legit music, and so hopefully your hands are starting to move in the way we need them to move. Okay, beautiful. All right, so then let me go back to where I was, and let's find out. Let's play some real music. Okay, so grab your Minstrel Boys, and let's start on the ukulele version. Book 1, let's go to book 2. All right, Minstrel Boy, ukulele. All right. And remember, if you are on baritone, you play chords. If you are on ukulele and you're kind of new to this activity, you play melody. And if you've been around a while, you play the tough uke with me. Okay. It's already 7:30, so we got to go fast. So let's not do the repeat. Okay, we're going to skip the repeat. When you get to measure 15, you're going to jump over and play the ending. So one time through for Minstrel Boy. Okay, and not fast. Okay, get your F on to get started. 1, 2, 3. second ending. Isn't that pretty? It's such a pretty tune. Hopefully you're playing it pretty well. Pretty hard song, right? Those bars are all over the place, and so not just sit down and play it kind of thing. It's kind of hard. All right, now let's go grab the baritone version of this. All right, everything's exactly the same. Pagination's a little different. I got one measure off. I'll have to fix that. Same pagination as uke. Okay. K-Moss says difficult. Yeah, well, right, it is. Okay, we're in book 2. It's supposed to be supposed to be a little difficult. The nice part is, this is a song. Every single thing in that song is coming up in other songs, right? So you're not wasting your time by getting good at it. And when stuff's hard, you slow down, right? And sometimes you have to play incredibly slow. I would much rather you play incredibly slow and get your fingering correct than to try to rush through it making music and having clank, 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 stop, back up, blah, 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 right? Just try to play super slow and just try to get your fingers where they're like, okay, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this, then right? And take your time, be very methodical and slow about it, and you'll be amazed how once you get it right a couple of times at an incredibly slow speed, and then you go back and start doing it once or twice or 3, 4, 27 times, pretty soon your hands are going much faster and much more smoothly because you took the time in the beginning to get your fingering figured out straight up. Okay? All right, baritone version. If you're on ukulele, you're on chords. 1, 2, 3. Page, go. Second ending. There we go. Right? So, yeah, it's a pretty tough song, but every single thing in this piece of music is coming up in other pieces of music. So it's a great one to just get your hands working correctly, and like I say, play everything stupid slow in the beginning, and it'll reward you down the road. It really will. I mean, one of the things that happens when we're a newer player is we rush everything because we think we got to go the speed that it sounds like a song, and you don't. You're learning to get your fingering right so that later on you can get your music right. Okay. All right, let's go take a look at Molly Malone. We learned it last week, and it's one of these songs that I just adore. If you're looking at the baritone sheet, which we're going to look at first, because when we go over these songs for the first time, I always go over them on ukulele, and baritone players are like, okay, it's all the same, it's all the same, and then they go and they're like, I don't know if it feels the same. It is the same. Okay, the fingering is the same. The sound that comes out of your instrument is lower. So we're going to play that. The problem is, if you're on ukulele, these are kind of tough chords. You got a D, okay, which looks like this on ukulele. Okay, then you got a B minor. That's this bar and here. Okay, and then you've got an E minor, which is this little stair-stepping deal, right? Then you've got your A7 over here, and then I think that there's one other chord in here somewhere. I think what is it? Maybe that's it. Okay, so it's a 4-chord song. Okay, and those of you in book 1, you'll remember when we did the columns on the chord chart, and you're like, all right, first is the D, the 6th, B minor, the 4th, what is it? D, A, B, D, E, F, G. I'm like, it's not a C. It's C, which is, we don't have the C chord in here, and we have a G chord. We don't have the G chord in here, which is very interesting. You would expect to see a G chord in here in a song that's in D, and then A, and we have A7s in here. So what they did is they took, instead of the G chord, they're putting in E minors there, which is very smart because E minor is G's best friend, and it creates a very different feeling to the song. So that's what's happening there, is where you'd expect to see a G, he's dropped in, they're dropping an E minor, and it's going to sound cool. Okay, Molly, remember Molly is a very sad little thing, and she is selling her fish out on the market, and then she dies, and then she keeps selling her fish as a ghost. Okay, the ending is through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. And that whole thing repeats 3 times. It's way too many. We're gonna play it 1 time, okay? Just because we're in a hurry. And Linda's here. We got to go fast because Linda's serious about making me speed up. No, she's not. She's a very fun person. Linda gets to live in Hawaii sometimes and Malibu other times. So she's my idol. Okay. All right. On baritone, 1 time through. Next week we'll play these a few more times through, but we're kind of in a hurry tonight because of my schedule. I can't get it right. From the top, 1, 2. Whoops. Isn't that lovely? It's just a lovely little tune. So play it a bunch of times this week. Next week we'll play at least 2 times through on each verse. And again, you can play it as fast like they do in Ireland. Alive, alive, right? Or you can play it super slow and sad because Molly is going to be dead by the end of the song, and I don't know. You guys probably figured me out. I play everything slow. I just love hearing those sounds come out of these instruments and just sort of linger in the air. I don't know. I don't really sense any need to rush along. The more I rush, the behinder I get, it feels like, and I don't want that. All right, switch to the ukulele sheet. Baritones, you're in G, E minor, A minor, and D7. Those are your chords. Those are absolutely in your wheelhouse. So much I don't feel like we even need to go over them for baritone. You guys know those chords cold, and so let's then just play through this just like it's written. Okay, we'll take our time again, and the hardest thing on this song is when you get to measure 13, and there's a measure or 2 later, when you've got to put your E minor on, and then get your 5 on here. Right, it's actually the worst ones at measure 6, actually, because you've got to get this E minor with your pinky. Not too bad, but then the next note's a 3. So you have to talk your middle finger into abandoning his post and going down and playing that note. And my middle finger is like, I don't like that very much. That seems suspicious. Okay, but do get your E minor on there, and then be ready to abandon your post to get to that 3. Measure 6 is the one that beat me up just now, and the other one is a little less terrible. You still have to get your 5 on, but then you can take it off, and your next note's a 2, which you're already holding down. Okay. All right, let's give it a try from the beginning. Get your G chord on to start. 1, 2. I'm playing a G sharp. That's going to sound weird from the top. 1, 2. Second ending. Okay, pay attention here for just a second. This 77710 thing, I probably played ukulele for 10 years and never ran into them. And then one day I figured out, wait a minute, my low G chord here turns into a high G chord here, and that's how you should end songs in the key of G, is with that. And so now you see it all over my music. It's like, oh, it's just a G chord, but it's way up high, and that's how you finish the song, almost with this magical etherealness. But remember, think about your chord, your movable chords. You got the C chord here, slide it up 1, C sharp, D, right? Slide it up 2, I'll measure, you got E, F, and then on 7, it's a G. So all you're really doing is playing a C chord on 7, and it turns it into a G chord. So you'll see that a lot in more and more and more and more and more, until you're like, oh, Gary has a thing for that high G chord at the end of these songs. In F, you almost guarantee you're going to hear that one, right? Because it just sounds great every time. All right, next week, be prepared with Molly Malone. It is pretty easy to play, except I think measure 6 can be a real stinker. And then once you convince yourself that at like 13 and 14 to put your full E minor on prior to hitting 0, 2, 3, 5 with your pinky, if you'll talk yourself in that full E minor, it takes care of itself. Okay, beautiful. Parting glass. Let's run through that very quickly. Let's see if I actually have it in this book, or if I gotta download it real quick. Should have it in this. One of my all-time faves. Parting glass, ukulele. I'm looking at March 11, 2021. Is that what you guys have? Dismiss. Have you noticed when you open anything on the internet now, there's all these pop-ups of other applications and ads and things? It's like, I have never once clicked on any pop-up ever. I don't know who they're selling stuff to. All right, so you guys, you and I have the same piece, it looks like, and it's also 2021. Okay, so parting glass. This is what you sing as you're leaving the bar in Ireland. Of all the money that I ever had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that I ever done, alas, it was to none but me. And then it goes way too high for me. All I've ever done for want of wit to for all of wit to memory. Now I Now I can't recall. I can't remember exactly how that section goes. We'll find it. We'll figure it out when we get there in the music. So fill me, so fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. I still rock Critter's head. What she's really saying is, please stop singing. Gee, good loving, please stop. Yeah, so the key of, we're in the key of E minor, right? And probably in Ireland, they might probably play this or Scotland, they might play it in D minor. But it works really well on a ukulele in this key. The problem is if you're a singer, you're going up to high E, and I certainly, even an octave below that, I can't do it. So there's that. But you got a sense of what the song is about, right? 3 times through, way too many. But it's, I played this with the guitar orchestra recently, and they did all of the verses, so it was kind of fun. And we had, and one of the guys was singing, and he's a great singer, and it's like, oh, I wish I could sing like that guy. All right, let's go through the pieces and parts of it. On the bottom, you have a boom chuck accompaniment. You should pretty much ignore that for now. But what it is sound, it's a way to get your chords to be cooler. By in your claw position, you're going to go boom chuck, and then grab your G chord, boom chuck. And then this is hard for boom chuck. No, it's not. It's easy. Boom chuck. Boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. Now that is an unnecessary thing to do unless somebody else is playing the melody, right? So you have somebody who's doing your boom chuck and you're playing the melody, and it sounds really cool. And you'll hear that in the MP3, is that offbeat chord, there's a chord on beats 2 and beat 4. In a lot of our ukulele tough uke arrangements, the chord is usually on beat 1 because you kind of need that to fill out the rest of the measure. But in this case, you would be playing with somebody else. They might be playing tough uke or just straight melody, and then you put in that cool boom chuck underneath it, and it sounds much more marchy. Of all chunk money chunkin', of all chunk money chunk that I chunk and chunk, chunk done, chunk done. Right, so it sounds like that, and it's kind of fun to do with you if you can find roping another ukulele player into playing with you. Melody is straightforward here. There's nothing, well, not, when I say nothing, there's not a ton. It's pretty much in first position till you get to measure 7. Then you see the 7 and 5 sneak in, and then it measures 9 and 10. The 7s and 5s are sneaking in, and then measure 15. There's 7s and 5s sneaking in. So remember, guys, when you're playing melody, blah 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 blah, and then when you get to 7, there's a 2. And your tendency is going to chase your pinky down to 7 and then come back to the 5 and then the 2. I might even do that, right? But the chances of you blowing the 7 are pretty high. So I would say hit that 2, go get your 7 with the correct finger, which is your ring, hit the 5 with your index finger, and then come back. Because hitting a 7 with your pinky, it's either going to work or it's going to be a complete disaster. And so I try not to chase my pinky finger down the neck. If I know that I have to change positions, I want to fall into my natural positions, which is index on 5 and ring finger on 7. Because I got a lot better chance if I can slide my index down to this 5, which has a dot, so I can get there, and now I'm anchored to do my 7, and I'll be much more successful. So try not to chase your pinky up and down that first string. It leads to bad results. Okay, let's talk tough uke very quickly. 2-0, that's a great place for a pull off. 2, okay, and then you go to your E minor. Everybody off. Probably middle finger here. Well, maybe your index finger. It gives you time to get your G chord on. Quickly to the D chord. Isn't that beautiful so far? Pinky on that 3. You've got your E minor again. This sounds really cool, this part here. And you just have to lift up your index finger to get those zeros and then put it right back down. But you have a G chord here, right? So don't put it right back down. Get over to your G chord. And then you got to grab those 2 strings up there to get that D. And you'll do exactly what I just did, which is hit a bad 4th string because you're not quick enough, right? You want to get that clean. Blum, blum, blum. And then it's going to repeat the same idea. Where the change is. Okay, now if I'm playing tough uke, I don't have a whole lot of choice other than to chase the pinky all the way down to 7. This is nasty, but on tough uke you have to do it. Okay, and then you're going to pull this back to 5 and replant your E minor. So that measure there is a nightmare waiting for you, okay? So if you were thinking about how fast can I play this song, it's however fast you can pull off measure 7, because you've got to hit E minor, 7, E minor with a 5, okay? Now, one of the things I don't do often, and I did it here, is you've got an E minor wrapping up on an E note, okay, and it has this tendency to be very weird sounding. This is technically correct, but it sounds weird. It sounds better if you put your 4th string down at the 4th fret. It just kind of cleans it up, okay, and turns this from being this weird G sound to this B sound, and it's just a lot smoother and a lot better sounding. I don't do it a lot, but sometimes I like that weirdness, but this case I want it to sound nice, okay? So you really do need to get that 4 on the top string, okay? And then you got the 3, done, and now we get into some interesting stuff, okay? So you got a G chord, but your pinky's up on 5, so you may want to go index, middle, pinky, right? Lose your ring finger for a second. 2, 5, and you're going to have to slide up to the 7, and then come back to the 5. See, I already missed it, chasing my pinky. Good example. And then bar on 2, pinky on 5. Okay, and that's kind of hard to get there. I've messed it a million times. Okay, then you got a nice A minor with a 3. Another E minor at 12, but you have a 2 underneath that. Okay, so when you get that E minor on, don't fall asleep because you got to get a 2, and then the other 2. So I might even end up upside down on that to get that. Then you go back to the main idea. Here's this 7 again. Reach. Whoops, god darn it. 7, E minor with a 5. You could probably do a pull off there. Okay, so there's that, and then look at this fun turnaround. And that's what you really want to do there. You want to put your B7 on, and then whack your ukulele. And then go back to the same idea, right? So that turnaround there actually is super fun. Bump, bump, bum, ba-da, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, bum. And then when you're wrapping this up in measure 18, I mean, again, you've got your E minor on there, but you want to get your ring finger on the top and then use your pinky for the other 4. Okay, and then look at where your E minor is up the neck. It's 7-7-7-9 or 9-7-7-7. Okay, that's a high E minor. Okay, this is what I was telling you before. Secrets of arranging. Just copy what Gary does. It'll sound fine. Or don't do what Gary does because he always sounds the same. I don't know. Either way to look at it. Let's see. Hey, Jennifer. Good to see you. She loves that song. I love that song. It's a great song. All right. So work on parting glass quite a bit. I may hold that an extra week. Honestly, I love it so much. So I want you to be good at that one. That's a super, super famous song. Molly Malone's Sad and Sweet, but Parting Glass is a whole nother level of famous, and I really like the arrangement here. I think it really works. There's a few places, there's plenty to keep you busy, and getting your pinky to behave and hit fret 7 is maybe your highest calling here. All right, guys, that's enough. Baritones here that have the same exact problems, just a deeper, more resonant sound, and yours will be in the key of B minor, which is a friend of D, which means it's probably in the real key that they sing it over in over across the pond. And so, yeah, beautiful, beautiful piece of music. Play it a lot. All right, now, those of you guys that are not members, you can skedaddle and have a wonderful evening. I'll see you next week on Tuesday. What's today? Is today Wednesday? I have no idea what even day it is anymore. You would think for a guy who doesn't know a single person in this city, I would have I would be able to keep track of things better. Today is Wednesday. We normally do just the members group here, and so now we're going to move on to the members group. If you don't have a membership, you should get a membership once you finished book 1, right? Don't get a membership till you finish book 1, because if you don't finish book 1, there's no point in going into the members section. But if you get through book 1, then you should get a membership, and all of there's a ton of great music in that members section, and that's only there, right? And so please give that some thought. And then those of you who are members, let's play Let It Be, Michelle, and Rainbow Connection. Remember last week you guys said, we could use another week on this, so let's go take a look at those. And thank you all for being here. And 45 minutes later, 57 minutes later than your usual time, and let's grab the Beatles and let's do, what are we doing? Let It Be. Okay, Let It Be on ukulele. Okay, I'm going to play slow because I want to finish this up today, and I haven't updated the one chord that Elizabeth found that is not correct. Measure 17. It's a D minor 7 and not a C. All right. Okay. 1, 2. Go. Page 2. Back to number 2. Sorry. Hold it, go. think I held my breath the entire time that we were playing that. That's a nice arrangement, don't you think? I need to check one thing. I think I told somebody I would do a lesson at 8, and I don't think I'm doing that lesson at 8. Am I late? Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to text her real quick. Sorry, I just realized I have yet another goofed up thing here. Hey, I am running overtime in a previous lesson period. Any chance we could do tomorrow? ? Okay, hopefully she says yes. All right, let's grab the baritone version of that. And in a minute, I'll let you know, right? Forgot to tell her we were doing it. We were doubling up here. All right. Hey, LG. All right, Let It Be on baritone. And guys on ukulele, I want you to know these chords, okay? So if you're on ukulele and you don't know these chords, by the end of this lesson, by the end of time I'm playing this, I want you to know how to make every one of those chords. All right, she says, maybe I will text you after I finish up here and we can set a time period. So sorry, ! All right. All right. Same thing, different key. 1, 2. Back to measure 2. Second ending. Isn't that tremendous? Linda says she better start showing up more. Yes, Linda, you should start showing up more. This is a pretty hard song. Like, I am not phoning this one in. I have to be really on it, and you can even hear me still screwing up here and there. It's a good arrangement. It's definitely gets the spirit of what we're after here. That little, we talked about it a couple other times where we don't have that bass note that's famous in this piece, so we have to come up with another way. And that little chord thing that I came up with works pretty well. Like, you get the basic idea of what's going on in that moment, but there's this things all over the neck, and you're just like, oh boy, I hope I can pull it off without making a mess. So there we go. Let it be. Keep playing that one. That's pretty decent. A couple weeks back we started Michelle. Let's go take a peek at Michelle. We'll do ukulele first, and this one's not near as hard a song. And this one has a lot of cool places. The hardest part of this one, I think, is reading the repeats. So let's see what we can come up with here. So we went over it did we go over it last week? No, 2 weeks ago, I think. And so maybe you've had a chance to look at it a few times. So play all the way down to measure 28, right? I'm sorry, measure 22. Then come back to measure 7 and play all the way down through 22. I'm sorry, blast right through 22. You go all the way to 27. Okay, so we're going to blast all the way to 27. Then we're going to go back to 13. The Beatles, right? And then when you get to 28, 22, the second time, you're going to jump down to 28. Okay, so there is quite a journey we go on here with the repeats, and I want you to know, if you are like, what the heck, I am too like, what the heck, and I will try to coach you through it as we're doing it, so that we all are more or less playing in the right spots. All right, 4/4. Remember, they're pretending to know a little French, because Michel is apparently French. Gotta be careful, because Michel is also a boy in France, right? Okay. Probably not relevant, but take our time. 1, 2, 3, 4. G minor 7. To 7. Keep going straight. Back to 13, go. To 28. It works. It's kind of cool. It's kind of hard. K-Moss is saying it's a nice arrangement. Yeah, I think it feels like a very long song to me. Like I'm kind of wanting it to be over more sooner than it is. But what do you know? What are you gonna do, right? Yeah. Luckily, lots of repeaty type stuff, so that once you learn it, you've got it. For me, measure 14 is just really tough, right? Everything else feels like, yeah, I'm going to be able to knock that thing out, but measure 14 feels like I'm going to work on measure 14 and no other parts of this song, right? Because that shape and then getting your pinky tucked under, it's hard. Okay, let's go grab the baritone version of this. Ukulele players: A, D minor, F sharp dim, E flat dim. These are not things that are normally in your wheelhouse. Like you have to go look them up in order to figure out where they are. E kind of stinks on ukulele. It's that you have to do a bar chord. So what do you do when you get to a chord and you're just not sure what it is? You just sing loud and stop strumming for a second, right? And so don't worry about the chords you don't know. Do the ones you do know, and try to, because unfortunately you have to play to my timing since I can't hear you. If we were in a room together, we'd agree on what the timing is, and we'd have to keep up with each other, ping-ponging back and forth, making sure we're in the same lane. But at home, you guys are like, I think he's on the third beat. I don't know. He adjusts his tempo depending on how hard it is. So, yeah. All right. This sounds like a better key, doesn't it? All right. From the top, same thing. Let me mark my repeats, because otherwise, you know what's going to happen, right? Put a yellow and a yellow on 7 and 13. And then over on page 2, I put a yellow on at the end of 22 and the end of 27. Okay, those are where your yellow highlighting should be. All right, from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, come on, Gary. Sorry. 7, go. To 28. Not as hard as the last one. Yeah, it is not as hard as Let It Be. Still keeps you hopping just a little bit, right? All right, and then very quickly, let's take a peek at Rainbow Connection, and then we'll call it an evening. Let's see, where did I put that? Maybe book 3. Maybe I didn't bring it in. So let's go take a look here. There you are. Okay, Rainbow Connection Baritone. And then Rainbow Connection, we'll wrap it up on ukulele tonight. We usually do it the opposite way. So ukulele players, we're doing the baritone sheet first. And you're going to look at G, E minor, A minor, C, D, D7. These are kind of your chords, right? You got an F sharp minor in there. Guys, that is this guy. No, that's F minor. F sharp minor is this guy, right? So it's a G. It's your G7 up on the upper strings, and your pinky out on 4. So that's your G sharp minor. B minor, you probably know it's a bar on 2, and D6, you just play a D, right? Because who knows what the 6 means? Okay. All right. What does the 6 mean? D, E, F sharp, G. A, B. It's a D, D with a B in it. I don't know. They sound cool. Okay. Baritone players, you're playing either the melody or the tough uke with me. And the repeats here, again, are kind of a mess. How about this? Since it's getting late, why don't we do this? Let's play it as if there are no repeats. So when we get to 30, let's jump to 33. And when we get to 37, let's jump to 41. Okay, so just don't do any of the first repeats. We'll just play it one time through, make sure we've had a chance to look at it a little bit, and then of course we've got a couple more weeks on this. So let's one time through for baritone, one time through for ukulele, take all of the second endings, and we'll end up being fine. Okay. Because normally we're supposed to play lots of repeats in this, and it can be a bit much. So from the top, you play the chords you know. I'll play the baritone. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. All right, so then it raced by too fast. But you got the idea. Got you a chance to play every note in there, and then yeah. So that measure 39 and 40 are pretty important to make the song really work, and so we skipped those. But you got the big picture, right? And so this one's going to be around a little while. It's another one where it's super hard to play in the beginning, and then it gets a little easier, and then at one point you're like, oh, I really got this thing, and then you've got something for your repertoire, right? Everybody loves this song. Almost everybody knows it, and it's really worth hanging on to. So all right, ukulele, here we go. Baritones, you're in C chord, A minor chord, D minor, F, G. That's all pretty standard issue stuff. And then look at how much nicer and neater and cleaner the baritone chords are, or which is ukulele chords, right? So this is a nice one. If you're going to sing, why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what comes the other side? Yeah, so those of you who like to sing, you're welcome. Dang, that looks pretty good. All right, I've been strumming all night. I'm gonna pluck. All right, same thing. Skip to the second endings each time, and next week we'll dig into it. 1, 2, 3. 2. Second inning. Second inning. All right. So it needs the repeats in there to really get it, but at least we had a chance to play through the whole thing, and I only kept it till 8:30. So, okay. So this week, guys, we'll drop Let It Beat. Don't drop it for real. Keep working on it until you've got it. We'll play Michelle and Rainbow Connection again next week. We'll see how we're doing with Michelle, right? If we're doing fine, then we'll keep moving forward. But I think I'll get back to dropping in more of the Beatles tunes. I'd like to get all 20 of those dead, solid, good quality finishes, so that in the event that you decided, hey, I want to go out and make some money with this, you can just go out and play Beatles shows with my arrangements. And my cut is 0%, so you should take advantage of that. Earn your Jolly Roger feedback. Guys, thanks for being here. These are super fun to play. They're super fun to make mistakes. They're super fun to try thumb, try claw, try fast, try slow. Try to get the best tones out of your instrument. Don't worry so much about making music, right? Get just beautiful tones from correct positioning, and I think you'll be really happy with your results. So good to see so many of you here tonight. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'm gonna go die on the couch, I think, and I will see you all this time next week, Wednesday. I don't see my schedule being a problem next week, so but do always check the website, the front page of the website, before you go to YouTube, just in case something weird has happened and I have had to kick out an email, and sometimes they get to you fast enough and sometimes they don't, but I'm having a little bit of challenge with running my schedule. I've got some ukulele and guitar classes starting up down here in New Mexico finally, in person. And so they're about to see with the sadness that is me live and in person, and some of them will be shocked at what's going to happen to them. So anyway, you guys know it's about to happen to them, so wish them luck, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Peace.